Welcome to Tales from Tubi.
Hey, Tubi friends! Welcome to another episode of Tales from Tubi. For those who don't know what Tales from Tubi is, this is where I take my love of horror movies and my absolute love of Tubi, and I bring them together into this beautiful package right here. So this week, though, I am joined by one of my dearest friends, Drew, also known as Needs to Be Seen or from the Real Feels podcast. Welcome, Drew.
Yay! Tales from Tubi.
Tales from Tubi. I'm so excited to talk about Subspecies, which is what we're going to be talking about this week. Only Subspecies 1, the first one. We're going to do the other ones later.
We'll get to the
be ready for those. Like, the first one has to be its own thing because
I mean, it's the origin story.
And you and I both absolutely love Tubi. We absolutely love Full Moon Features, who released this movie. So it's like we had to do this. We had to record this together.
This is what I tell people all the time with things like Full Moon Features. It's much like Asylum, but of course, Asylum needs to step up their game to get to Full Moon Features.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Full Moon Features, they are unapologetic about what they put out to a good degree because they know what their audience wants.
Oh, yes. I mean, it all started, Puppet Master, all that, like the video store days. I always look forward to finding a Full Moon feature on the shelf.
Puppet Master. It's my favorite, Brad.
Oh, I know. But we're not talking Puppet Master today. We're talking
Subspecies.
1991's Subspecies. It was released August in 1991, directed by Ted Nicolau, and it stars Anders Hove as Radu, Laura Tate as Michelle, and she's only Michelle in this one. We will talk about Michelle in the later ones. And a small little part from Angus Scrimm at the beginning of the movie.
The tall man!
Yes! It is 3 students get caught in the struggle between a good vampire and his evil brother in the Transylvanian mountains. And this was the first ever film shot in Romania. First ever American film, I should say. Sorry. First ever American film
American film shot in Romania after the fall of communism.
Yes.
Which, the fall of communism in Romania, and I learned this when I went to Romania, when I was in junior high, when the people stormed what is known as Ceausescu's palace, which is the second largest, not tallest, but largest building in the world, next to the Pentagon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's a fact I did not know. It wasn't in my research.
This is my one little bit.
But what I love about this movie is I came to this movie only just a couple years ago. Like, I knew what Subspecies was. I had seen, obviously, clips from it from the mini Full Moon features I'd ever watched in my life, and trailers and previews and everything else. But I'd never sat and watched beginning to end this film. And I loved this kind of different take on the vampire. It's similar. There's still, you have, the sunlight and everything else, a lot of those tropes, but it's a little different. He has his little minions, so to speak, and I guess he would call them
talk about the minions.
But that's what I loved about it. He was just a different kind of vampire.
It's a little bit Dracula. It's a little bit Nosferatu.
Yes.
And it is quite interesting because now we're learning that, like, it's not so much the fact that the vampirism creates this type of monstrosity in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Him being born of something not pure, I should say, kind of makes him a bit of a monster. However, he's so, I don't know, I want to say, like, quirky to a point where it's more the actor taking these choices for the character of Radu.
Oh, he chews that scenery whispers every time he's on screen.
Right. The long whispers, like, "Father."
Oh, yes.
"Don't you know it was mine?"
And the long fingers when he's got his long fingers. And
the more I listened to him talk when I watched it again, I was like, did Eddie Redmayne watch this movie for Jupiter Ascending? Is this the inspiration that he got? I will.
Now that you say that, I was just like, oh my God, this is exactly how he was talking in that movie.
But I love it because it's still this. It's this interesting. Like, it doesn't matter how soft he speaks; everyone can hear him.
Yes,
his brother can hear him from like the castle walls.
Yeah,
yelling
even
at
though
him
he's like
a quarter mile away.
Yes.
Oh, and you're so far from your coffin. Like, it's so nifty. However, the Bloodstone itself, which is like the weirdest Jolly Rancher that you can get, that's prolonging the life. This is what's keeping them alive, aside from the fact that Radu even still drinks blood like a normal vampire later on.
But the Bloodstone kind of gives them, I think, a little more power than what
right. It gives them that oomph. But I mean, if anything, it has to like attribute to the longevity of being the vampire. But it definitely excites their power. His brother is proof that he doesn't need the Bloodstone to continue and to kind of like, I guess, be vital.
Yeah,
in a way.
Yeah, because you can
keep his life going.
You can still be a vampire. It's just
right. You can still be a vampire. But the hilarity of that opening scene, demanding the Bloodstone from his father, and then I love the dad like hiding it away in the wall, but he's hiding it like in front of him, like less than 5 feet away. Like, this isn't hidden, old man. You're not fooling anybody. Also, one press of a button and you have this one trap where he has to be perfectly. But like, was there an X on the ground that we didn't see? Because apparently this wooden trap is what's going to keep him from doing his ultimate evil.
But it doesn't keep him. He cuts the tips of his fingers off.
Not even cuts. He like breaks them.
Yeah.
He like breaks his Nosferatu fingers
and
off.
they turn into these little minions.
Did you know that vampire fingers apparently can evolve into little like devil lava men?
Yeah, little minions devil that walk around.
Demons. The biggest thing also, the dad is just watching this happen.
Yes.
So either Radu has abilities that the dad doesn't have as a pureblood. Okay. But also, he's watching him do this. Like, why not stop him? Okay. Also, if you're not going to stop him, why are you watching the creature's form? And if you're going to watch the creature's form, why do you slowly walk away from them?
Maybe you figure they're small enough. It's like, oh, these little red guys, they're not going to do anything. They're
not small. These things are the size of like a Turbo Man doll. Like, they're pretty legitimate size.
But he still's like, what are they going to do?
Well, apparently they can push the same button, which apparently has a reverse option.
It does,
to raise
of course.
the Also, I want to know what kind of vampire dies from being stabbed from just a knife.
Oh, you mean his dad?
Yeah.
Well, and if he's a pureblood, he drinks from the Bloodstone. He is very old.
Okay.
He doesn't seem like he has like that young, like he's aged, and it feels like he's kind of on his last leg, even as a vampire. It's not like he's stayed young. It doesn't feel like.
Okay, so he's the old man in Blade 2.
There you go.
Is that what we're going for?
Sure. That's what we can go for. We can go for that.
Do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
And Radu is the only vampire that looks this way.
No, 100%. He's the only one who looks that way because
they explain it when he was born, because he is like this creature where they like
because he's like a half breed.
Yeah, they clip his fingers when he was younger so he could be normal. Now, do you think when they clipped the baby's fingers, they turned into the even little minion guys and just scurried away? I'm curious if that happened.
Would they? Is the demon fingers happening like after puberty? Is that the only thing that's happening?
I don't know. I will say for this movie, if you watch a lot of full moon features, as we do, the theme and score for this, you could just have played this for me and I would have known, oh, this is from some full moon movie. Because just like the Puppet Master theme, like it has this very
there's a distinct tone about it.
Yeah, tone and pace and everything.
Tempo and beat. And there's also like certain notes, like Puppet Master, Dolls. There's something else that has like a similar kind of that.
Yes.
I want to say even. Did Demonic Toys have it?
It had very much that too. Like you can just always tell when a full moon, because I think it might be. Nobody sue me for not Googling this right off the bat, but I think it's Charles Band's brother who does a lot of the music for the full moon features.
I want to say you're right. So for this whole film, can we just talk about the fact that Carl is the real hero? Carl has to be first off, like, one, he has the bushiest eyebrows I've ever seen. Okay.
Yeah.
Carl also does most of the work. Okay. Carl knows where, Radu sleeps. Carl fills the shotgun shells with prayer beads.
He helps Stefan get away when he needs,
Stefan, he does help Stefan get away. Stefan is also like the worst excuse for a vampire.
He is. He's pretty weak.
He cannot even vampire. Edward Cullen vampires better than Stefan. And that is something from me because I can't stand Twilight.
He doesn't sparkle though. No, you were correct. Carl is basically the hero that kind of helps them.
He really is.
Get everything.
He really is.
Ultimately helps, slay Radu in the end. Spoiler alert. But if you've made it this far, we'll probably spoil a few things. Now, I will say, like I said at the beginning, this film was shot in Romania, and this film definitely has very much a European feel to it. Like it just
because it's like filmed. I mean, obviously on location, and they go to actual castles.
Yes, like it just
okay.
And they got actual people from Romania to act in it. I think what is the one actress?
The village woman.
Yes.
Oh, Lily.
Is it Mara, the blonde girl that it's kind of the friend that they show up with?
Yeah, Irina Movila or Movola.
But they used a lot of local people for this, but it just kind of had a different feel than you typically would see in a movie, especially in the early 90s.
It plays a good amount of respect to the idea of this is folklore. They know who the vampires are. Okay. They know what they are. They know where they are. Like it is this agreement that the people there have with them. It's like, okay, we understand this. It's been passed down for generations that y'all understand this. You know your place and we have ours, which is hilarious because it's the same thing where Carl's all like, we have to get him where he sleeps. I know where he sleeps. And you're like, I'm sorry, what?
We would have liked to have this information earlier.
You've known this entire time. And speaking of where he sleeps, I also would love to have a light show come on under my bed every time I wake up. And when I open a door, it looks like there's an angelic choir behind me beaming a light show. Some of the design choices are interesting.
They were, and how Radu can kind of, is it morph into a shadow and just kind of
It's that same idea from like Nosferatu.
Yes.
Where he just like he like blends into the shadow.
Yes.
And suddenly he's away. Because that kind of alludes to the fact of like how in one scene Radu is out amongst the crowd or in the woods. And then suddenly the next scene is inside the bedroom and he's like creeping up on Mara.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, because she's one that's taken, because he's very infatuated with Michelle. Michelle is, I mean, you couldn't have a vampire film like this unless you had the vampire infatuated with somebody.
Right.
And in this case,
well, because Michelle, I always thought that when because it was Michelle, right? I always thought it was Michelle when she was reaching in and she cuts her arm.
No, that was her other friend that came with her.
Was that It was Lillian.
Yes.
I always thought that it was Radu inside, like cutting it with a knife, because they never explain how or what it's cut on.
No, they don't.
She reaches in and suddenly it's just, a big gash.
Well, that way she could have a scar so he could come later and suck on her arm.
So he can come later and drink the blood and cop a feel.
But I'm glad that I ultimately came to this series and then, watched them all. And recently we just got the 5th one in the series after many years between films, which we'll eventually get to that one. Overall, what did you think of this first entry in the Subspecies series?
I enjoy it. I think it's neat. I think some of the choices are a lot of fun. There's obviously stuff that's laughable about it, but it's nevertheless creative. And I think a lot of the creativity can shine brighter than obviously the critiques that you can point out.
Yeah. And you can tell, as we discuss, we'll eventually get to the sequels, and you can tell, especially in the next one, that the budget got a little bit bigger because a little more things were possible with the film. And I really enjoyed this one. I've watched it. I think I've watched it 3 times this year now, because I'm like, okay, I got to get a rewatch just to refresh myself to make sure that, we could talk about it. And each time I watched it, I'm like, I think I've enjoyed it just a little bit more each time. It's one of those, like,
you do like a little bit more. Yeah, you do like a little bit more. You get to obviously notice a little bit more details. Like every single time that Radu is drinking some blood, you can tell, like the scene before, he's popped like a huge blood packet in his mouth and he's just like spitting all of it out.
Oh yes. There was one scene in particular when he gets in, you see him kind of go over her neck, and then all of a sudden you kind of see his lips push and the blood just starts running down.
Right.
But you know what? That's the type of movies we love. We love this type of films. And if you've never seen Subspecies, check out this series because it's great.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it, definitely go watch it. Obviously, wait till the end. There's a nice little twist for you at the end.
There is a nice little twist at the end. Set up the sequel.
I almost find the little demons that come from his fingers a little endearing, because they seem very competent at what they can do, but they also seem so like childlike and simple-minded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because they look at him with that like, huh? What do you need?
We were just
they are not at the level of yeah. They're not at the level of like a Mr. Meeseeks, but they'll get the job done.
I want to thank you, Drew, for coming on to talk Subspecies. I know you'll be back for the sequels with me. Next, we're going to do 2 and 3. We're going to do those together because they were actually filmed together. And then 4 and the spin-off in this series called Vampire Journals. Yeah. Leading up to, ultimately, we'll get to 5 when it can come to Tubi. We'll see. Hopefully soon. Before you leave, let people know where they can find you out on the interwebs.
Oh, gosh. Well, my main podcast is the Real Feels Podcast. We are at Real Feels Pod on Twitter, REEL, like a film reel. And if you just type in the Real Feels Podcast, you can find social media, any podcast app out there. You'll find us on it, Amazon, Audible, what have you. If you want to catch myself, much like Brad, over on Twitter for our Tubi action, I also have an account for Needs to Be Seen.
Needs to Be Seen, yes. Tuesday, make sure you tune in. Follow me at Tubi Tuesday and follow the Tubi watches over there. Drew and I watch quite a few Tubi films. Thank you, Drew, for coming on talking Subspecies, and we'll be back soon with more Subspecies. And remember, snuggle up in that blanket, turn off the light, because it's okay to be scared. I'll talk to you later, everybody.